All right. Check, check, check. I think my mic is working okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here at this live Metastock presentation. My name is Greg Lewis. I'm the marketing manager for Metastock. And as always, I'm going to turn that music down just a tick. It's always a little too loud, I think. Anyway, today is a great day because we have Steve Bigalow here. And anytime we have Steve Bigalow, it's a great day. Steve Bigalow is one of our most popular speakers and frankly has one of our most popular products. Steve is very entertaining, very knowledgeable, and if you want to know anything about candlesticks, you have come to the right webinar, my friend. My name again is Greg. We'll be starting here in about 8 minutes. Today's host is Jeff Gibby. He will be broadcasting from Salt Lake City. I'm currently broadcasting from our satellite studio in Texas, McAllen, Texas. And I think Steve is coming at you from the Chicago area, but I can't say for certain. Anyway, if you haven't heard of Metastock, why don't we play a little video right now, give you a chance to find out who we are and situate yourself just in case you haven't heard about Metastock before.
Hi there, Greg Lewis, Metastock Software. As the marketing director, I get asked all the time, what is Metastock? How can I help my trades? Well, stick around for about 3 minutes and I'll tell you. Metastock is an award-winning software and data package that has been helping traders for over 35 years. Simply put, Metastock is a tool for traders like you to analyze the markets. Metastock helps you take the guesswork out of trading by offering a methodical, systematic approach to some key questions all traders come up against. Questions like, how do I decide which securities to trade when there are literally thousands to choose from? Which strategy should I use, and how do I test that strategy before spending my first trading dollar? When should I enter and exit a trade? How can I effectively manage the securities I'm interested in? And of course, how do I know where prices will go next? At the core of Metastock are the power tools. The power tools give professional-grade analysis tools to private traders like you and me. You can scan the market with the Metastock Explorer to filter and sort securities that show buy and sell signals based on your criteria. The Metastock System Tester lets you test most strategies through a process called backtesting, which allows you to see how your strategy would have performed over time. You can easily manage and monitor the securities you are interested in with Quote Center. Quote Center lets you sort on a variety of criteria to view the data that's important to you. Then just double-click on a security if you want to see its chart. With the Metastock Forecaster, you can even take advantage of patented technology to view probable future prices. If you're an options trader, you're going to love Metastock's Option Scope. Option Scope puts all the critical info at your fingertips, displaying sortable, customizable, color-coded options data, including the Greeks. And Metastock has solutions for traders of all levels and interests. If you're just getting into trading, you will appreciate the education offered by our many built-in systems. In addition to pointing out buy and sell signals, Metastock explains how they work in an easy-to-follow commentary window. Metastock has built-in systems based on popular strategies like MACD, Bollinger Bands, turtle trading, candlesticks, and many more. Metastock even has the very popular and exclusive Rahul Mohindar oscillator system, or simply known as the RMO. And as you become a more experienced trader, Metastock grows with you. Advanced analysts will enjoy the comprehensive list of trading systems and indicators and the ability to build their own systems. And if you're a day trader, you can't do better than Zenith, the real-time news, data, and analysis package offered by Refinitiv, a world leader in market data. Add on the world-class support, and it's not hard to see why Metastock has won the Stocks and Commodities Reader's Choice Award for 26 consecutive years. To find out more about Metastock and how it can help your trading, visit metastock.com or contact a product professional via phone, email, or chat.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little video we made a couple of years ago. If you do have any questions at all during today's presentation about anything really, make sure you ask it here in chat. Also, while I'm on the subject, make sure you like and subscribe. We really appreciate that. And then if you click on that bell as well, you will be notified each time we have a live event, which is usually about once or twice a week. Almost always once, many times twice. We also have marathon events we do about once a month, which is a full day of speakers. The next one I believe is on September 18th. And if you go to metastock.com/traders-summit, I'll put it here in the chat, you can register now. Even though the speakers aren't set up, you can register now, and then we'll tell you as the time comes and you can listen to speakers. Or know who the speakers are when we tell you. Also, I can't remember what else I was going to say. I think that's about it, really. Again, we're going to be starting in about 3 minutes. Do please participate, ask questions. Steve loves to ask questions, and Jeff's very good about passing them along to Steve. The way this works is we simulcast on YouTube as well as GoToWebinar. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to me right now, you're on YouTube. GoToWebinar is also fine. They're about the same, but the recorded event is here on YouTube. So if you want to listen to this later, listen to it here on YouTube. Also, this little 5-10 minute thing we do beforehand where I'm talking, usually we edit that out after we go live. It takes a day or so. If you see me talking and you don't want to listen to me talk and we're not live anymore, just fast forward. You don't have to listen to me talk anymore. We just do this to give people a chance to get settled and get their coffee or whatever and situate themselves before we start the event, which we're going to be starting here in 2 minutes. Let me see if Steve has actually joined us yet. That would be helpful for everyone if he has. Looks like he has. So, oh, no, he hasn't yet. So hopefully he'll get on here in the next 1 minute and 55 seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to some jazzy music. Again, please do ask any questions you want here in chat. I'm monitoring chat, Jeff's monitoring chat, and we really, any comments or questions are welcome so long as they're, you know, nice. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
So I can move around.
It was long. All right, let me start the broadcast.
Okay.
All right.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Givey. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you joining us today. whether you're watching us on YouTube or GoToWebinar. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps a great deal. We really appreciate it. So you can see Steve over here. I'm going to turn the time over to him in just a second. But I have to read a legal disclaimer first. So let me go ahead and do that. We'll get right on the path today. So today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Metastock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided with the company. I don't have to read that other stuff, so I'm not going to, but I do want to say thank you for coming. As you can see, Steve is here already. He's ready to talk to us. Steve, I consider a very, very good friend of mine. I've learned a lot about trading through him over the years and with him over the years. A great teacher, very, very good with candlestick patterns and candlestick analysis, and a friend of Metastock for decades now. Seriously, I think we released his first version of the program 10 years ago, but I'm sure we worked on it for like 3 years before that. So in any case, Steve, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Jeff.
All right, let's go ahead and throw the presentation over to you. I'm gonna make sure we can see everything properly. So I'm making you the presenter now.
Okay, show my screen, show screen, whoops, down screen. I think we do it right this time. Oops, bah.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
First try. All right, Steve, it's all you. I'm gonna get out of the way.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. One of the major facets of candlesticks is it tells you exactly what's going on in the markets. And I always kind of chuckle when I listen to all these talking heads on the financial news stations saying, oh, the market's going up, the market's going down. They have no more idea. But the markets tell us where the markets are going. So there's a few indicators that allow you to take advantage of being in the right direction at the right time. Now, as you know, there's about 50 or 60 candlestick signals. We have narrowed it down to where there's only 12 signals that you really need to learn. The others don't occur often enough to spend any amount of time and energy learning them, because you're going to have more trades and more accurate analysis of what the market is doing, as well as what a stock price is doing based upon these 12 signals. And we've even narrowed it down to where there's about 4 or 5 that, just using simple scanning techniques with Metastock, you're going to find the best ones, the most powerful ones. So you not only have the 12 major signals, but you have these patterns. And the reason these patterns are so accurate is the Japanese rice traders have illustrated over the last 400 years what price movements do based upon human nature. So this is what we try to concentrate on. What is your charism, which is a kind of a derivative of clairvoyant? Everybody's trying to always learn everything that's going to make them money. What you can do because of the graphics of candlesticks and the simple scanning techniques is find the ones that you recognize and then learn them very aggressively. But the first thing you want to do anytime you're going to put on a trade is identify which direction the market is moving. And there's 7 different indicators. First of all, the chart analysis itself. Secondly, where are the stochastics? The corporate bonds, the biggies like Amazon, Tesla, financials like Goldman and JP Morgan, and then the transportation index. And finally, what is the media talking about constantly in their broadcasts? Right now, obviously, it's artificial intelligence is in the forefront. So the first indicator we always illustrate is the T line. Now, if you look at the simple concept of candlestick charts, if the candlestick signal is the graphic depiction of everybody buying and selling, telling you what's going on in investor sentiment, and then you can include the T-line, which is the 8 exponential moving average, which acts like a natural support and resistance level of human nature. Why does it do that? Have no earthly idea. It just works extremely well. But if you combine those two concepts, that you're looking at candlestick reversal signals, and then the T-line acts like a natural support and resistance level of human nature, it's very simple. If you see a candlestick buy signal and a close above the T-line, you can stay long until you see a candlestick sell signal and a close back below the T-line. Now, why is this important for most investors? Because if you were like me before candlesticks came along, I was the worst investor in the world. And what is the biggest bugaboo of most of our investing? Our own emotions. And this basically takes your emotions out of your trading, keeps you in positions. So there would be times where I'd say, oh, I'm smart. I can see there's a candlestick sell signal or a candlestick sell signal. I'm going to close out my position. And if it keeps going up, I can always get back in. Well, usually I took that money and moved on to something else. This just keeps that whipsaw or that that decision-making process out of your hands. You just stay long until you see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. Same scenario on the downside. If you see a candlestick sell signal and a close below the T-line, no matter how much it waffles on the way down, as long as they can't close above the T-line, you just stay short until you see that buy signal and close back up above the T-line. So the purpose of all this is to get you mentally prepared and get rid of the flaws that most investors have, which is the emotions that we have. So we hear news. For example, I'll get off track here for a little bit. Remember that Target today announced better than expected earnings. And all day long, you could see the broadcasts, the people, the TV broadcasters and the financial news stations saying, oh, Target's up big. Well, Target gapped way up, and all day long it sold off. So even though at one point it was up 571, they're saying, oh, Target's up big because of the earnings. It was a sell signal. So that's what the graphics candlesticks allow you to do. So the first thing you want to do is analyze the chart. We can see the signals and patterns. An evening star signal, a morning star signal. A morning star signal smack dab off the 200. How long does this uptrend last? Until you see that sell signal to close below the T-line. Or if you see things rolling over and they close below the T-line, this is why we always stress this one indicator. That if you're below the T-line, the probabilities are much stronger. The bearish sentiment is starting to take control. In an uptrend, doesn't have to be regulated to one index. Because of the graphics of candlesticks, you can look at the Dow, you can look at the S&P 500, you can look at the NASDAQ, all in a matter of 10 seconds. Doesn't take very long to say, whoops, they're not getting up above the T-line, they're still heading down. Whoops, I want to go back here previous. This is what we call a McMuffin. McMuffin is just a combination of signals. Your morning star signal, which is a big down day, a day of indecision, and the third day closes more than halfway up this candle. That's one of the 12 major signals, your morning star signal. Then we have a doji sandwich. Doji sandwich is a big day, then a doji, and remember the doji rule. The price will usually move in the direction of how they open after a doji. Well, if it's opening positive, we know it's going to trade positive. Now we have a doji sandwich or a McMuffin, which is your morning star signal followed by a doji sandwich or your morning sandwich. If this implies bullish sentiment and the doji sandwich implies bullish sentiment, when you combine those two, you've got a very strong case for an up move. Or if you were watching to see what everybody else is watching, the 50-day moving average, this blue line. You can see how they were buying right at the 50-day moving average and then gapped up after a candlestick buy signal above this level. That tells us they've all made their decisions. We can see immediately what their decisions are at levels that everybody else is watching. Jeff, I forgot to mention that if people have questions, I didn't even bring a hold up. Let's see, questions.
No questions yet, but if you do have questions, type them on. Steve answers all of them every time.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them as we're going along. So here's the Dow right now. Look at our bearish kicker signal and a close below the T-line in the overbought area. I have learned through the years that no matter how much I hoped some of my bullish positions would stay bullish, as soon as I saw that bearish signal, I knew the investor sentiment had changed. It was time to start scanning for short positions. Same scenario here on the NASDAQ. Here's a very, high probability strategy that if you're in an uptrend, this is our potential J-hook pattern, which would told us we should be in the next wave up to the upside. However, notice the doji selling back below the T-line. When they fail at this level, that tells you everybody can realize they're not going higher. That's when the downtrend starts. So as you can see, there hasn't been anything yet. We had a positive day a couple of days ago. But notice what it didn't do. They couldn't close this above the T-line. And another important facet is, where are the stochastics? If you're up here in the overbought area, you're in an uptrend. Doesn't necessarily mean because you're in the overbought area that there's a reversal. It just tells you want to be a little bit more alert to the fact that if you see a sell signal and a close below the T-line in the overbought area, the stochastics have already warned you that you want to be a little bit cognizant of a change of investor sentiment. This is what makes trading very easy. Identifying signals in the oversold area of stochastics, sell signals in the overbought area, buy signals in the oversold area, sell signals at a level that now looks like a channel. You're just putting yourself in situations where if you're short, you know exactly when to short, when to go long. If you're long, you know exactly when to start taking profits. Now, there was one thing I forgot to mention about the T-line. The further away you move from the T-line, the higher the probability it's going to come back and test it. So if you're seeing a sell signal in the overbought area, that far away from the T-line and at a level that everybody else might be watching as a channel, that's telling you want to be a lot quicker at pulling the trigger of maybe taking profits up here. So this is what we're looking for. This is what the logical trade decisions are. Where are the stochastics? We're in the oversold area, and we're starting to see candlestick buy signals. That tells us if we're short, we should probably be covering our short and getting prepared to go long. Now, getting prepared to go long means if I see this on an evening or at the close, what am I going to be doing that night? I'm going to be scanning more for long positions than short positions because the probabilities are telling us the investor sentiment has changed. On the other side, if it comes up to a level that everybody else is watching in the overbought conditions of the stochastics, doji harami, one of the sell signals, doji, and that's, remember the doji rule. They're going to move in the direction of how they move after a doji. Well, that's pretty much telling us they're starting to sell here at this level that everybody else is watching, close out long positions. When would you get ready to go short? Right here, where they're gapping it down through the T-line after failing up here. That's a good place to start adding short positions. So this is not rocket science. This is just identifying what the Japanese rice traders have illustrated for hundreds of years of changes of investor sentiment and then indicators. Somebody was asking today in our chat room, did the Japanese rice traders have indicators that told you you were overbought or oversold? I don't even know the answer to that. I do know that the Japanese rice traders did not become wealthy using candlestick signals. They became legendarily wealthy. So they were identifying, and they may not have used anything more than where were you in a trend, and did you see buy or sell signals? I was going to add something to that, but I forget what it was. So another indicator that tells you what's going on in investor sentiment is the corporate bonds, HYG, because the logic is if you're a big investor, but you don't have confidence in the market or the stock that you're buying, you're probably not going to have confidence in the bond prices. As you can see, this is pretty junky, but right now it's heading down. Your stochastics are rolling over. That's pretty much confirming the selling that we're seeing in the markets right now. So this is what we want to see is if we know a market is moving in a particular direction, we've got additional buy signals or buy patterns. This is what we call a bobble breakout. Notice how the first trend came right smack dab to the 50, a level everybody has on their charts. Pulls back. Look where it pulled back to. Right back to the T-line. And what did it tell us? They weren't closing below the T-line. So the next time they came back up through the the T-line, the 50, well, everybody and their brother who watches the moving averages is up. They're breaking out. We're already buying because of the pattern setup, because we know that everybody else is going to start coming in because they see that the 50 is not acting as a resistance anymore. Same scenario on the upside. When you see something like this and you see you're in the overbought area, the market's got a little oversold, you can see what type of signals are occurring at levels that everybody else is watching. And if it does a doji up here and then starts trading lower the next day, we know to start taking profits and or start going short. There's patterns. The opposite of a fry pan bottom is a dumpling top. When can you be shorting this? When they're gapping down, confirming that dumpling top, telling us they failed here at the 50. So prices do not move based upon fundamentals. Prices move based upon the perception of fundamentals. And candlestick signals are merely the graphics of everybody buying and selling. They work for all time frames. Whether you're trading the soybeans, cattle, the dollar, crude oil, if you're day trading, you're trading off the 10-minute chart. Basically, the logic is if you're witnessing a change of investor sentiment in the overall market, what's your best trading strategy? Going to things that tell you up, are they starting to sell off this index, or meaning this, the corporate bonds? Are they selling here? That just adds as additional confirmation of what investor sentiment is doing. You also have the biggies, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, all of these big ones. If they're selling off like they're doing right now, that means the people that are out there trading, throwing a lot of money around on big trades, well, they don't like the market. They don't have a bullish sentiment. And if you're seeing all of this happening at the same time, pretty much tells you that these sell signals are telling you there's been a change of investor sentiment. You can pretty much assume that we're in a bearish mode at this point. This is one of your strongest sell signals. There's your bearish best friend. That's a doji followed by a gap down. Now remember what a doji illustrates to us. Indecision. What's that gap down tell you? It tells you exactly what their decision was after that indecision. As you can see, we're still trading below the T line on Netflix. You might not be trading Netflix, But if you look at it real quick and say, well, they're selling this one off and the markets are selling off, I should be shorting or maintaining my short positions. Also, the financials. The big banks, Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, if they're selling off, that's just another quick indicator. Now, is this a lot of indicators to be looking at? Not really, because you could probably go through 15 different charts in a matter of 50 seconds. And if you can see that everything's selling off or everything's choppy or everything's in a bullish trend, it only takes 45 seconds to figure out whether the markets are heading up or heading down. Wells Fargo, what can we assume here? We're still in a downtrend. Goldman, still in a downtrend. So even if you're not trading these, at least looking at them says, oh, they're selling off the big financials. That's one of the indicators that tells us this market is not heading in a bullish mode at this point. The transportation index. A lot of people say, well, why do you use the transportation index? Because that is what creates the sentiment or implies the sentiment that if everybody thinks the economy is getting worse, that means they're not traveling as much, that they're not shipping things as much. If the transportation index, if everything, if the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 are trading positive, but the transportation index is starting to sell off, that's usually a little precursor that people are starting to say, oh, maybe the economy or the business out there isn't as active as we think it is. It acts like a little bit forewarning that there might be a change coming in the overall market trend. And the media. The media will put out stuff that is going to be indicating which sectors are hot and which sectors are not. If they're touting that the retail stocks are running into trouble because interest rates are high, blah, 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 that's where you start watching to see what are those charts doing. Are they confirming? Now, the nice thing about analysts are that they're mostly wrong. So anytime you hear a bunch of analysts say, oh, you should be moving in this sector or that sector, the thing that confirms whether you should be or not is watching to see what the charts are actually doing. The difference between somebody's opinion and the charts is their opinion. I mean, if you watch the Sunday programs where they have 4 analysts on and somebody says, well, what do you think about IBM? You're going to get 4 different answers and you still don't know what's going to go on in that chart or that price. There's only one true indicator that tells you what's happening, and that is the markets themselves or the charts themselves. That cuts through everybody's opinion. So right now, as we've seen, artificial intelligence is highly touted or highly concerned with pros and cons. Well, it's getting a lot of attention, so that way you can watch to see what's happening in that area. A couple of years back, it was the electric vehicle sector. And then there's times when it's the oil sector. So whatever's being touted in the media, just go to your chart or charts and say, all right, what are people actually doing? The charts are the actual buying and selling decisions of all the investors out there. So this is where you want to use common sense when you're analyzing what to do with different charts. We recommended ACAD the other day because look at the dojis, right smack dab on the 50, stochastics in the oversold area, and then it closed above the T line. So would we be buying more here? Well, the logic is if the market is starting to sell off or is selling off, maybe you don't want to be going after the longs aggressively. So how long do you hold on to one of these? Until you see a sell signal, because you've seen buying in spite of what the market was doing. People were still buying this one for some reason. So what do? You logically put a stop loss. And this is where another benefit of candlestick graphics is where would be a place that would tell us the bears are taking control after this shooting star signal. Well, maybe it shouldn't come back down through the previous day's close, because if it did, it's now giving you an evening star signal right about this level. It's telling you, that's where they're selling. Let's take profits. But you don't take profits until you see a sell signal. Because if you've got a chart like this is one that was pointed out in the chat room the other day. Same thing. Look at your dojis right here in the 50, a morning star signal, positive trading even when the market was selling off, and then it had a move like this. So that's not to say that every time you get into this type of position, it's going to move in this direction or with the magnitude of this direction. It basically, though, tells you the probabilities are pretty strong that you're in the right direction until you see a sell signal. Are you going to share replay of this? Oh, Satish, yes, that's, Jeff will show how that
We will automatically send that within 1 hour.
Okay. But here is the logic. If you can see that the market is starting to turn over and you're starting to see things that look like selling, notice kind of the wedge formation right here. And then they broke down this way. Look at all the elements at the end of this wedge that other people were watching. The wedge. A doji followed by a gap down. There's your bearish best friend. A doji followed by a gap down below the T line. There's your downtrend. If you miss this move, when could you be getting into it? Well, look what was happening. There's our bearish J-hook pattern. A high probability that wave 1 and wave 3 are going to be the same. We started shorting this over the last couple of days because it's moving in that direction. Forward, we shorted because there's your bearish left-right combo, kind of your dumpling top. Then they're gapping it down. And remember, if you see a candlestick sell signal and they're gapping it down, there's still going to be a lot of force to the downside. So I keep coming back to this is not rocket science. This is just merely, you don't have to be a sophisticated technical analyst to use candlestick charts. All you have to do is learn the signals and patterns, and you're going to put yourself in situations where the probabilities are greatly in your favor that you're in the right place at the right time. So we recommended Verve as a short because there again is your bearish J-hook pattern. And what confirmed this bearish J-hook pattern? The fact that they couldn't close it above the T-line. I could take everything else off this chart, keep the stochastics and the T-line, and I would produce good, consistent profits all the time because the T-line and the signals in conjunction with each other are just high probability trade setups. Why does the T-line work? We have no idea. All we've discovered is it works extremely well with candlestick charts. Okay. So candlestick analysis is just merely a hybrid of fundamental input. Remember, 90% plus of all investments are based upon their decisions because of fundamental reasons. Maybe 10% is based upon technical trading. But if you know that the charts are developed by everybody buying and selling during a specific time frame, usually because of fundamental reasoning, that it's not a pure technical trading style. It's technical in the sense the charts are telling you what everybody's decisions are. Then you can apply technical indicators like the T-line, the moving averages, trend lines, things that everybody else is watching to confirm what is actually happening in each investor charts in the sentiment in each investor chart. So basically, the first thing you want to do is see what is the market conditions, and then there are the 12 major signals. There are the signals and patterns, and then there are strong price movement indicators, the kicker signal, the best friend signal, the J-hook plus, the bobble breakout, the fry pan bottom, and the dumpling top. These are all indicators that have worked for hundreds of years. And now we've got them all set up on Metastock, where they identify those patterns. And even if you're in the learning process, not only do they identify the patterns for you, but Jeff will kind of point out that if you hover over those patterns, it'll also describe why those patterns are working or what those patterns are. So Jeff, I kind of eliminated a lot of charts, but so done a lot of quicker. Are there any questions that I can clarify about candlestick analysis? And the whole basis of candlestick analysis is that the most reliable trading indicator is human nature, which works the same way time after time. I should have asked how many people have seen my presentations before, so I knew how much time to spend on each chart. But fortunately, I was able to learn candlestick analysis very well, because before candlesticks came along, I was the worst investor in the world, which meant when I started seeing what the charts were telling me, I could say, well, I knew that's where I would usually be buying, which where do most people buy? They buy exuberantly at the top. Where do most people sell? They panic sell at the bottom. And I was usually that person. I figured all I have to do is turn my logic around 180 degrees, and I'm on the right side. I'm with the smart money. That's about all I've got for tonight, Jeff.
All right. We just have a couple questions off of YouTube that we might be able to talk about.
Okay.
John Doe says, I can find many exceptions to the expected moves after the signals. What type of, I think probably what we're kind of going to be asking about here is, he was asking if there's back testing, but there isn't back testing in this, but what kind of recommendations do you have around stops and how to get out of a trade if it's moving in the direction that you didn't anticipate?
Pretty simple. That if you have a signal or pattern, the expectation is that it's going to move in a specific direction. So that they have high probability movement. And that term probability tells you it should be moving in a direction. And you can also see when it's not working. So I would say that 70% of my trades work successfully. Some of them work for 0.3% profit, some 300% profit. But every time you see a candlestick signal or pattern, it's setting up to produce a price move that the Japanese rice traders have identified for hundreds of years. But you also have the ability to see when that trade is not working. So one of the major facets that changed my profitability was when I first learned candlesticks, I'm thinking, man, this is great. Most of my trades are working, but the one thing I forgot was some of the trades aren't going to be working. So when I finally realized, and I took that personally, when I put on a trade and it didn't work, I'm thinking, what the heck did I do wrong? Did I still not smart enough to analyze this? But then after a while, I realized not all the trades are going to work. So it's just important to learn when that trade is not working. So you get out of that trade and move on to something that has better probabilities of working. Now, I've babbled on so long, I forgot. No, I would disagree with that. I agree with that not every trade is going to work out successfully, but the vast majority of them will. And that's what you want to learn or utilize for your investing, is learning what should happen and then where should it not move if it's not a successful trade.
I think one of the biggest things I've learned from you, Steve, is like using the T-line as kind of like a bit of a thing. So for instance, even just like a simple way to look at that is if I'm in a long trade and there's a trade below the T-line where it closes below the T-line, that's an easy way to kind of get out of the trade.
Exactly.
Would you recommend that you do that every time there's a close in the other below the T-line when you're in a long position?
Yes. So, for example, fry pan bottom looks like a big fry pan bottom, but the trading rule is if you're in a fry pan bottom and it starts moving up, confirming the fry pan bottom, you can stay long now as long as it stays above the T-line. So the basic rule is if you're in a fry pan bottom and it breaks out, you stay long until you see a sell signal and a close back below the T-line. Now, that could be 2 days from now. That could be 2 months from now. But that's why the T-line becomes a very successful indicator to tell you when there's been a change of investor sentiment. Same thing with any other trade. You don't use the trade or the chart as its own, its own criteria. What is the market doing? Is there a major sell signal that has occurred during that uptrend that tells you it's time to get out? Let's go back to, I have to go back a few here. Well, for example, how long would I stay short on this trade? Until I see a buy signal. Now, remember what our criteria was on the T-line. The further away you move from the T-line, the higher the probability it could come back up and test it. So I'm not in the oversold area. I am a good distance away from the T-line. So I'm going to be a little bit more cognizant of where should I put my stop. But where would be a logical place that if you're that far from the T-line and you're still heading down where it shouldn't trade? It probably shouldn't trade back up above where it opened, because that would tell me I'm in the oversold area, that far away from the T-line. They're starting back up. Yeah, that's where I'm going to put my stop. So we're not trying to buy at the absolute bottom, and we're not trying to sell at the absolute top. We're trying to get the high probability fat part in the middle.
Here's a good question. Yeah, I like John's question in here where he says, I still struggle to sell when a chart closes below the T-line. What should I do to counter my emotions?
John, it only took me a few times that I was in a bullish trade and it did a sell signal and closed below the T-line. What were my emotions telling me to do? Boy, I'm hoping it's still going to go up further. But I discovered that the probabilities are so strong that once it closes below the T-line, you now have a major change of probabilities. Why fight it? The other side of the coin is the scanning techniques, especially using a scanning software like Metastock, is there's 9,500 trading entities out there. If you've got one that is now showing doubt, why stay in it? Take that money and move it to some place where the probabilities are much greater in your favor.
One of the things that you always say that I like is you can always buy it back in if you're wrong.
That's right. Let me see if I can get to a best friend signal for who was asking, Steve.
Steve, yeah.
Best friend signal, best friend signal. Oops, I might not have one on here. Here's a best friend signal. Doji gap up. So just simple logic. If this is indecision, a doji's indecision, and the doji rule says they're going to move it in the direction how they open after a doji, that's one of the trading rules that will greatly improve your probabilities of being in the right trade at the right time. Now, a best friend would have been if there's your doji and this one had opened up here and gone positive, gapped up, that's your best friend. The reason we call it your best friend is because it produces high probability expected results in the correct direction. The magnitude of the move is very strong, and the frequency is extremely strong. And I don't know why I didn't put more charts on here tonight, but there's some best friend signals that are working right now that even though the market is heading down, those stock prices are still heading higher because they came off of a best friend signal.
Maybe I'll show a little scan on how to find them.
Okay, that'll be good. You live it.
I promise, John, and this kind of feeds into Peter's question a little bit too. Can you talk a little bit about the chat site and the Candlestick forum site and kind of how people get together there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
There's two basic ways to scan for good signals. One is just at night scanning off of Metastock, identifying the strong signals. And two, we have a chat room open. We have 2 chat rooms open every day, all day long. And we've got usually, well, summertime it's a little bit light. I think we got about 140 people in there during the day. But there's going to be a good dozen people in there that know exactly what the best charts look like. So just sitting in the chat room, you don't even have to participate. You can see which ones these people are recommending because they know what they're looking for. They're identifying the strong signals or patterns just as they're getting started. And if you're learning how to use candlesticks, the chat room is a perfect place to expedite your learning process, because if somebody's saying, hey, look at XYZ, it's doing a best friend signal, and you're not sure what a best friend signal is, you say, well, this one's gapped up. Why are you going after it? They're going to come back and say, well, because it's a best friend signal coming off a doji. So you learn a heck of a lot faster, which I always tell people, I wish I had one of these chat rooms when I was learning candlesticks. But when I was learning candlesticks, there was nobody around doing candlesticks. I always have to tell people that to learn something, you'd like to get a second opinion on something. And the only time I could get a second opinion is when I would go to the doctor. I'd say, what's wrong with me? And he goes, you're fat. I say, well, I think I want a second opinion. He goes, all right, you're ugly too. So, but now you've got a whole source of people that you can go to and say, all right, why is people like Marshall saying, oh, XYZ is a good, strong breakout? They're going to explain why that is a strong pattern. Yeah, the other side of that coin, John, is I could show you charts from 2 years ago. I could show you charts from 20 years ago, and they'd look exactly the same as they do now. I keep arguing with Pat, my marketing person, that I need to update my charts because on some of the trainings, because they're old. And I keep explaining to her, it doesn't matter. Those signals or patterns are going to look exactly the same today as they did 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So anyways, let's see. I naturally can't join in real time. So do I get to see the various charts? Peter, every Monday night, we do a member session. It starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know what that time is in Australia. We do the same thing on Thursday nights, but that one's open to everybody. starts at 8 o'clock. And we go through what the market is doing, which charts are acting the best, which sectors are acting the best. In our other room, we trade options. And in that room, we also do commodities. That if somebody wants to be trading wheat or soybeans, I can say, what do these charts look like? So remember, candlestick charts are not for a specific market. They work for stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, tulip bulbs, anything that has fear and greed in it. Candlestick signals are merely the graphic depiction of what's going on in investor sentiment.
And just to be helpful, 8 p.m. in Eastern is 10 a.m. in Sydney.
Okay, all right. All right, so I don't want to chew up too much of your time. You want to show them how to do the scans?
For sure, absolutely.
We'll
read a couple of these comments too first, though. John says the cool thing about Steve is that he shows current charts. His heart is always in it. We love you, Steve. Satish says, I really started to understand charts after Steve's explanation of candlesticks. Great, and giving us some hope in trading.
Okay, great.
Really appreciate that. Okay, let me talk a little bit about how to find the best friends and kind of how the add-on for Metastock works and that kind of stuff. Before we let you go, Steve, I want to say thank you for coming. Thanks for spending some time with us, and thanks for all the work you've done with us over the years.
Well, no problem, and thank you for the I guess fine-tuning of how to find the good trades using the Metastock scanning. But I mean, you've done a lot of work.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again, Steve.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
All right. Let me go ahead and make myself the presenter. And one of the questions we get quite frequently is, how do I do scanning? How do I do that kind of stuff? So let me go ahead and kind of get switched over here. And I want to talk a few things about the add-on just in general, because I'm really proud of kind of the work that we've done with it over the years, how well it works and all that kind of stuff. I do have a chart of Dow open. I was just going to show you how the signals have kind of been coming in over the last week or so. But I also just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the add-on. So before we kind of get into kind of the charts and the annotations that happen on the charts, all of that kind of stuff, I just want to talk about the Steve Bigalow add-on, the Candle Profit Systems 3. And yeah, we're on our third iteration. We just finished the third version of it. The first version of it, in case you're interested, came in 10 years ago in 2013. And it's been one of our most popular, most well-received add-ons that we've ever released. When we initially released version 1, I remember I sent a version of it over to the late Dennis Peterson, had him reviewed it. He loved it. He did a very, very good review of it. When 2 came out, I had it reviewed by Stocks and Commodities again. A person we work with, very, very nice lady. Her name's Barbara Starr, and she did a very, very positive review of it as well. With the third version, I haven't had it reviewed yet, but what we wanted to do is actually we're getting to the point where we had a lot of patterns in it. Here you can kind of see a list of all the patterns that are actually in the program. And I believe it's a huge number. I've got it written down in terms of how many, but I don't have that in my notes right here, but I think it's on a slide later. What I wanted to do with Steve is kind of create, and not just add some patterns. All of these patterns that are highlighted in yellow are new. So you've got your power patterns, and all of these are new. But what I also wanted to do is actually kind of make it so that if we're going to add a whole bunch more products or patterns to this product, that we made it very, very visual in terms of the ones that Steve considers his top ranked or his best patterns. And so over here, you can see the top ranked patterns, and all of these yellow ones are what we would consider our top ranked, or the patterns you should really, really pay attention to those. So with with this add-on, again, it's been rated one of the best add-ons for any product, not just Metastock. But what we kind of went in is we've added some new patterns to it. But I've also wanted for these patterns that Steve considers his favorite patterns or his top ranked patterns, I wanted to kind of figure out a way to kind of make them more prominent on the chart. So let's kind of look at this Dow chart, and any of those patterns that were just on those that I was just showing you are going to be automatically identified for the chart. So you can see right here we had a kicker signal. Here you had a doji. Here you had a series of doji, and it just says SOD to save space on the chart. But if I highlight over it, it'll say this is a bullish series of doji. Okay. Here you had a kicker. Here you had a left-right bearish combo. Here you had a left-right bearish combo, and here you had a kicker. So very, very visually, you can see exactly what patterns happen on any given chart. But in addition to that, the ones that we consider our top ranked patterns, or the ones that Steve ranked as his best patterns, those are going to stand out even bigger for you. So right here, you've got the kicker. It's a little bit bigger, and it's a different color. For the bullish signals, we've painted them we've painted them green. For the bearish, we've actually highlighted them as red. We've made the text a little bit bigger, and we've also highlighted the bar. So in other words, when this happens on a chart, we really, really want you to pay attention to it. So this is going to identify all of those patterns for you. But in addition, if it's a pattern that you really want to pay attention to, like this kicker that happened on August 3rd, it's going to be red. It's also going to be more pronounced. It should be easier for you to see. So Satish says, I need a reference side by side of your stock, side by side initially plus scans to filter the stocks. I'll show you how the scans work. And this does work as a reference, because what we've got is we've got all of those, but it's also automatically going to tell you. So as you're learning these patterns, it's actually going to show them to you. And the other thing that we've got in here before I show you how the scanning works, Satish, is if I go to view and I go to the expert commentary, any day, there's not going to be one today because we're not recognizing a pattern today, but any day where I actually have a pattern, it's going to actually tell me what that pattern is, and it's going to give me some detailed explanation for it. So I'm going to go back a little bit here to this kicker right here. Okay, and right here it's going to say this is a bearish kicker. This bearish kicker occurs when a bullish white candle forms and then is followed by an open below the previous candle. So it tells you exactly what the pattern is and where we're finding it. And since this is a power pattern, it's actually going to be identified and labeled a little bit more appropriately for you. But I really like this. I kind of like the design on it. I like the way that the patterns stand out a little bit more for you. Let me just show you another example. This is a chart that's been very good, Meta or Facebook. Let me go ahead and open that up. Been a great stock. It's kind of tapered off a little bit recently. But if we kind of take a look at the patterns that we see here, you can see right here we had a doji best friend, a fry pan, another doji best friend, a fry pan, and all the way up, you've had these very, very high powerful patterns. So the other thing that I like to show is scanning. Obviously, as Steve said, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of tradable instruments out there. And it depends on the country that you're in. I mean, with Australia, we had somebody from Australia a little bit earlier. You can use this to identify scans in any market. But if I wanted to go in and find any of those top-ranked bearish patterns or any of those top-ranked bullish patterns, I can run an exploration of that. And let me show you how that works. I'm going to go ahead and open up our Power Console. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just identify all of these CPS. So all of these CPS3s are scans or explorations that you can run, and all of those patterns that are identified in that big table before are going to be available. But if I just want to find a major pattern, actually no, what I want to be able to is I want to be able to do top rank bullish or top rank bearish. So Steve talked a little bit about how the market was showing some bearish signals. If I want to find the top ranked bearish signals today, just get a list of all the top ranked bearish signals that happened in the market today. What I can do is I'm just going to go ahead and do the CPS3 top ranked bearish. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to identify what I want to scan. And if I was in Australia right now, and I wanted to do Australian stocks, I could just come in here to Asia and go ahead and take the search. Right here, I could just do the entire Australian stock exchange. If I wanted to find Australian ETFs, I could do that. We also cover Bombay. India is a really good market for us. China, Hong Kong. The amount of, we cover over 300 different exchanges. Actually, I don't know if it's over 300. It's definitely over 200. It's between 200 and 300 exchanges. But if there's a market that you'd like to find, we're going to have coverage for it. Let me show you how easy it is to scan. So what I'm going to do instead, just to show you an exploration, so I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to scan the list of the S&P 500. So I'm just going to scan those 500 stocks on the S&P 500. We're going to go ahead and run that as an exploration. And it's going to go through, it's just going to take just a few minutes. It's going to go through 500 stocks, and it's rejecting right now about 98% of those. So if I'm a very, very active, busy professional, and I just want to focus on not necessarily the whole S&P 500, but only the S&P 500 that had an opportunity today, this is going to weed out 98% of those. And that's why I love scanning in Metastock, because I can apply it to any markets. I can ignore a lot of the noise that's out there and just focus on this doji bearish best friend, or the footer kicker bearish, or the trend kickers. So right here, we don't have any doji best friends. If we did, there would be a 1 in this column. There isn't. We don't have any flutter kickers as well. We do have a trend kicker. Let me go ahead and click on this. HCA Healthcare came up with a trend kicker. Here's kicker signals. Okay, we have a bobble pattern here. This would be your dumpling top. Let's go ahead and look at those. Okay, so right here, out of the S&P 500, if I'm looking for dumpling tops, right here, one of Steve's power signals, Amazon today had a dumpling top. So did Eaton Corporation, so did Robert Half. But for me, what I want to be able to do as a trader, so I want to be able to use technology to help me find the best opportunities. For me to be able to look at 500 stocks in a single day, that's doable. But what if I want to look at all the ETFs? What if I just want to, instead of looking at all of the different stocks and trying to find the one that I really like, maybe if I could eliminate 98% of them and focus on just those that have an opportunity. This is a great way to do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up, we'll just go ahead and take a look at Amazon. If I open up Amazon today, I'm going to go ahead and apply Steve's template. And to do that, I just go ahead and click on apply template right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go chart view. Okay. And now what you're going to see here is we're going to see that dumpling top that's forming, and that's a pattern that existed on the current bar. However, that's a pattern that existed a week ago. The last person was scanning for stocks on 726. So they weren't using the current time, but it did find a pattern for you, and that's the same process that you could use. So let me go ahead and kind of go back in here and just kind of talk a little bit more about this add-on. I'm really, really proud of this add-on. It's something that has been very, very popular. Steve's a great technician, and certainly that helps. But here's a list of all that's done. And what we've done here, so when you actually install the add-on, you're going to get what we call an expert advisor. That's going to give you that commentary. It's going to give you those alerts. You can see it right there. In addition, it's going to give you templates, different ways that you can look at the charts, and then explorations. So you're going to have all of these explorations. We added the new bullish for the power signals, and for the top trend, we added some new scans for that as well. So if you've used CPS1 or CPS2, thank you for using it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, if you have used it and you like it, or if you don't like it, go ahead and talk. Say, hey, I've been using this, I like it, or don't like it. But for this version, what we did was we added 20 new patterns. We also went in, and 7 of those are new top rank patterns like the Doji bearish best friend, the Dagwood, I can't remember which ones are new offhand. But in addition to that, in addition to adding new patterns, 7 of those were top ranked. For the top ranked patterns, we had Steve go through and identify his favorite patterns, the patterns that he has used over his 40 plus year career. And for those, we've formatted those to stand out better on charts. We've added exploration so you can just find the top ranked. I went through and kind of cleaned out the look and feel of the CPS. I feel like with the new formatting, you can pay more attention to the patterns that really are jumping out at you, and kind of minimize the text and kind of made them a little bit smaller. Still identified them, but just made it for a cleaner look and feel. So one of the things that Steve also did as we were kind of putting this together is he put together detailed explanations of all the patterns, how to find them, how to use them. And one of the things that I wanted to do is make sure that that got passed on to you. So in the manual, all of the patterns that exist in the manual, it's going to have a documentation about what they are, how to use them, things that Steve would call enhancements to the patterns. Just a great documentation that you can kind of use to kind of review the patterns. I'd recommend that you go through that at least once as you're learning the patterns, so that you can know from Steve, okay, this is what the pattern is, this is what it does, this is how I use it, this is how I enhance it. So there you go. CPS 3, again, one of our most popular add-ons of all time. In total, what it's going to include is 11 explorations, 2 expert advisors, the 4 different layouts, 58 unique patterns, 70-page manual, and a getting started training video. So if you're new to Metastock and you haven't used Metastock, I actually put together just a few weeks ago a training video that shows you how to set up the scans, how to do all the watch list scans, how to look at the charts, how to switch between charts. Just maybe a 30-40 minute video to kind of help you get started with Metastock and using it with Candle Profit Systems. It's not something, it's just included. As soon as you buy the program, that's actually included as part of it. So the normal retail price on the Candle Profit Systems is $697. Here at the event, you can get one of our top-ranked add-ons, top-ranked by our customers, top-ranked by Stocks and Commodities magazine when they've reviewed it for us, voted best in their Reader's Choice Awards a few times. You can try it out. $697 is the normal retail price. Here at the event, we're going to charge $597 for you. And if you don't have a copy of it, we'll give you a free trial of Metastock, either real-time or end of day, to help you get started. So, and we'll do offer that as a purchase that you'll get with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can try it out. It's a great risk reward. I wish I could get it on every trade that I take. But if you don't like it, if you don't think it's helpful, if you don't think it's going to be something that helps you, you can return it and we'll just give you your money back. So how easy is that? I will say, if you've also used version 1 and 2, like I said, it's been a prolific add-on. If you haven't used, you don't have to pay the new retail price. Normally an upgrade cost will cost you $197, but I wanted to do an introductory offer on that allowed you to get it. Wanted to reward you for using it for 1 and 2. So if you already own Candle Profit Systems, the upgrade price for you, it's going to be $97. So you can do that a couple of different ways. If it's an upgrade, you need to get in touch with our sales team. You go to metastock.com/sales chat. You'll give us a call at 800-882-3040, or you can go to metastock.com/candlestick forum and take advantage of that. If you're an upgrade, you do need to call in or chat in. If you're getting the program at the full retail price of at the webinar discount of $597, we're going to include a free trial to Metastock and a 30-day money-back guarantee. And you can do that online at metastock.com/candlestick forum. So a couple questions. Satish says, does this Candle Profit Systems 3 go from basics? I am still getting my feet wet and want a structured approach. I think it's really helpful for you in the fact that there's actually a couple of things I did with you in mind, Satish. So let me kind of go back into the product. If you're new to Steve and his methodologies, I just think having the patterns identified for you on the chart and shown to you in real time is extremely helpful. But in addition to that, being able to go and look at the commentary and stuff like that, also very, very helpful. One of the things that you might want to consider if you're brand new to Metastock and you just want to focus on the top trade patterns, I did put together a special template for brand new customers for Steve. People like you, Satish, that are just getting their feet wet. And I want you to take a look at this chart. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on it right here. Scroll back a little bit. This one will identify, the template that we're using will identify all of the patterns. But if I just want to see just the top ranked, I want to just kind of focus on learning those. There is a special template. If I come in here and go to apply template, and if you just want to look at the top ranked patterns, you can see just the top ranked patterns. So it eliminates all the patterns that Steve doesn't consider top ranked. So you just see the ones that he does, like this doji sandwich, this kicker, this fry pan. And that might be a good way for you to kind of see and start with. I added that. And then when I was looking at it with all of the patterns, I'm like, you know, actually, these patterns still stand out for me. I can still see them. So there are a couple of different ways for you, but I think if you're new to Steve and new to his candlestick patterns, this is a great product to help you learn them because they're identified on the chart for you. If I was to come in here and kind of click on this doji sandwich, it's going to tell you what that pattern's all about. And I do think it does a really, really good job of helping you as a new, helping you with the basics, which is what you asked. So thank you for that question. Okay, and then I think we answered your other question. Let me look at YouTube for a second real quick. Eloy wanted to know, what is the T-line? The T-line is an 8-period exponential moving average. It's this one. The other indicators that Steve uses are also automatically put on here. And just to go through them real quick, it's the 3 EMA, the 8 EMA, the 20 SMA, the 50 simple moving average, the 200, and then he also uses stochastic 1233. So Think Hard Mind wants to know, what is the cost to upgrade from CPS version 2 to CPS version 3? One of the, we kind of gone back and forth in terms of an upgrade cost, because we did put a lot of time into this, but what I wanted to do is make it really, really affordable. So what we decided to do, I wanted to make it a no-brainer for you, Think Hard. So if you already own CPS 2, or you own CPS 1, and you want to get CPS version 3, the normal price would be $197. We're currently running an introductory price of $97. So, but you do need to go to metastock.com/sales-chat or 800-882-3040 to get that. You can't get that through the website. So, and thank you, Think Hard Mind. Thank you for using the CPS version 2. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. We had kind of gone back and forth. I think one of the things that I think has helped with Steve Bigalow is his product, for what you get out of it, is so affordable. This is a one-time cost. So for $597, you get all of his decades of experience. You get the ability to scan for these patterns, to have them labeled in real time for you. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee. I just think the value has always been, I've always felt that Steve's product has been underpriced. And I think that's so why it's so popular. And when we went to put together the upgrade and the upgrade pricing, I said, let's do something to really reward this. So thank you. Thank you, Think Hard Mind. Thank you for using it. So Peggy Tucker says, where do I find the training video that you talked about? I just recorded it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Peggy, thank you for buying the upgrade. I appreciate that. Go to metastock.com/mydownloads. It should be right there. What you'll do is you'll scroll down to under where you download it. There's going to be a section called Premium Training, and you can just grab it there. So I'm going to type the thing here. It's just metastock.com/mydownloads. It's already there for you. You can go through it. It's 40 minutes of me showing you how to run scans and attach the expert advisor, helpful tips that I thought would be helpful for you. So it's just included for free. I just barely got done with it, and we got it uploaded, I think, last week. So it's right there. If you have trouble finding it, get in touch with us. We'll point it out to you. So anyway, and Peggy, thank you for using Metastock. Thank you, Think Hard Mind, for using CPS2. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy it. I think that's a good place to wrap up. I don't have any more questions coming in. I want to say thank you for coming. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. It helps a good deal. And we'll see you again soon. Do try this out if you haven't. It's a great product. So stay healthy, stay well, hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks, guys.
Hi, Kelly Clement here from Metastock. Before you go, I have 2 quick things for you. 1, thanks for joining us today. We love having you here at our webinars and viewing our videos. So what I'd like to invite you to do before you go is like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us a great deal, and it helps us bring you more awesome content like today's video. The second thing is we have a great ebook on trading that you can get for free. If you go to metastock.com/YouTubebook, you can get a free copy of The Secrets of Successful Traders. It's a great book with lots of content from traders just like yourself who can teach you some of the secrets that they have learned. Thanks for taking a second with me and learning about those two things. Thanks for joining us, and keep on trading.